Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello everyone and welcome to our today's lesson. Inshallah, today we are going to cover the following, which is Unit 6, Lesson 5, page 87. Let's go over the previous lesson, which is conversation. If you still remember, guys, we discussed the conversation last time, which is actually a dialogue between Abdullah and Muhammad. And of course, this dialogue actually was about Abdullah when he asked Muhammad about something, which is actually the losing of his watch. Let's go over this conversation quickly, and of course we'll go over other topics. As you see here, we have this conversation. It's actually started or began when Abdullah told Muhammad, "Hey, how was your day?" Then he told him in an angry way, "Leave me alone." So he told him then, "What's eating you?" So this is actually the beginning of this conversation. When he told him, "I'm just really aggravated. I lost the watch that my parents got me for my graduation." So he is so angry because he lost the watch that his parents got him for his graduation. So this is actually what makes Abdullah angry. And of course, he told him, where you put your watch, or where you think you put your watch. He told him that actually he left the watch when he actually was in the office near to the medical cabinet. So this is actually where the place the watch is. Of course, we'll go over this part, which is actually very important. As you see here, this is a real talk. As you see here, we have very important words and expressions. We discussed some of them yesterday. Let us begin with the first one, which is eating. Okay, we told that whenever you see this word, which is actually eating, you think that it's actually the verb eat, okay, while it's not. So here is the meaning, which is actually bothering. So you can use this word or this expression when you're actually describing something. For example, this actually situation is eating me because of different problems or reasons. And of course, here we have down in the dumps, which is actually feeling sad and disappointed. So this is one of the expressions that we have discussed in the conversation, which is down in the dumps, feeling sad and disappointed. You can use this as an example. My brother was, for example, down in the dumps because of something. So you can use this expression to describe your brother's feelings. Hit the roof. So this actually a very important expression. We use this in the conversation when we actually, or when Abdullah actually, or Muhammad described his parents, if they know that he lost his watch. Okay, he told us that actually they will hit the roof, okay, if they actually discovered that he lost his watch. And of course, here we have bent out of shape, which is actually upset, agitated. Of course, we discussed this in the conversation. And of course, here we have vanished into thin air, which has actually disappeared without a trace. So these are actually the expressions that we discussed in the conversation. In this part, guys, we discussed something which is actually expressing regret and, of course, expressing understanding. So expressing regret and expressing understanding. Let's go over these tools, or these actually ways that we are used to actually express regret. Of course, we'll start with the first one, which is I regret, okay? And of course, you can use the negative way, which is not. And then we have I regret plus a verb in the ing. And of course, you will, or we can use, for example, this one, which is I will, or I would never do that again. I wish I hadn't. And of course, I'm really annoyed that. I'm sorry I ever. If only I, looking back, I would have. And of course, here we have this part, which is actually expressing understanding as the following: how awful. And of course, I know how that feels. I'm sorry that happened. That's too bad, and what a shame. So this is actually a revision of our previous lesson. And of course, now we have the lesson for today, which is listening. Of course, This is actually our today's lesson. Listen to two people talking about things they have lost, then complete the chart. Of course, we'll listen to an audio which is actually describing us that two people lost their items, and of course we'll go over the charts and we'll discuss them and do them together. As you see and as you remember, guys, as this actually unit is about lost and found, so everything related to lost things and lost items. Of course, for now, or in this lesson, inshallah, we are going to listen to the audio for 3 times. For the first time, we'll listen as generally, and of course, we'll listen for details, and of course, we'll go for another part, which is actually related to this part. Let's go over the audio together, and I'd like you guys to concentrate on this part.
Page 87. 5. Listening. Listen to two people talking about things they have lost. Then complete the chart. David.
The most important thing I have ever lost was my 6-month-old parrot, Max. Max is always getting into trouble. He loves pecking at my hat and my cell phone when it rings. He's also notorious for snatching fruit or a sandwich that someone might be holding. So we built a wire enclosure over and around our backyard to keep him in. One day, Max somehow managed to get out. By the time I came outside to check on him, he was gone. I spent an hour looking for him around the neighborhood, but couldn't find him. When I got home, I had an idea. I asked my neighbor to keep calling my cell phone, and I let it ring every time. Within minutes, Max flew into the yard. I never want to lose Max again. So, after talking to my veterinarian, we had a small computer chip attached to Max. Now, if he ever flies away or gets lost, I know I'll be able to find him again.
Okay, guys, we listened to this audio, as I told you, for the first time, and of course we'll have a general idea or a main idea about this audio. And of course, as you see here, we have this chart, and this chart will go over two people. We have David and of course Marilla. David and Marilla lost some of their items, and of course we'll listen or we'll answer these questions, which is actually related to each one of them. As you see here, what was lost? So what was lost for each one of them? And of course, how did it get lost? And how was it found? And of course, how will the person avoid losing it again? Of course, for now, we'll see what was lost for David, which is actually Max the parrot. So David has a parrot, and of course this parrot lost. So that's why we are listening to this actually audio, and of course to answer these parts. So this is actually the first part, which is related to David. How did it get lost? Max opened the wire enclosure and got out of the yard. So this is the way the parrot actually lost. It's actually opened the wire enclosure and got out of the yard. So this is actually the answer of this part. How was it found? In this part, we'll discuss how was that parrot found. Of course, it's lost, and of course now we would like to know how was that found. Let's see here. Max came home when he heard the cell phone ringing. So as you see here, it seems that this parrot is clever because it's actually heard the cell phone ringing, and of course it's actually went to home because he heard the cell phone ringing. And of course here we have this part, which is actually how will the person avoid losing it again? So how will the person avoid losing it again? So here, after he got his parrot back, he actually wants to know how he can, of course, protect the parrot to not be losing one more time. David had a computer chip put inside Max for identification. So he can follow the parrot when he lost, of course, because the computer chip is implemented actually in the parrot. For now, guys, we'll see what's actually related to Marilla. Okay, so what was lost? Marilla's cell phone. So here we have an interesting actually story, okay, which is actually related to Marilla's. Let's go over the audio, and of course we'll listen one more time, okay, because it's very important.
Mariella.
The most important thing I have ever lost was my cell phone. It was an expensive phone with all kinds of features, along with internet access. But most importantly, I had all my photos from my sister's wedding in it. One day, I lost my phone at the beach and didn't realize it until the next day. I was worried that it might be buried in the sand or damaged by water, so I gave up hope of finding it. I spoke with my sister that night and told her about having lost the phone. The next day, my sister called me at home and told me she had my cell phone. She said a woman had found it on the beach. While looking for clues as to who owned the phone, she came across the photos of the wedding. One photo showed a bridesmaid whose face looked familiar to her. It was a woman in one of her classes. She brought the phone to class and showed it to the classmate. The classmate was my sister's best friend, Donna. The woman gave the phone to Donna, who gave it to my sister. From now on, I'm going to attach my phone to a chain or ribbon around my neck. That way, I know I will never lose it again.
Okay, guys, after we listen to this audio, which is actually related to Marilla, we can say that Marilla lost her cell phone when they were on a trip on the beach. And of course, she thought that the cell phone is actually paired on the sand. And of course, she wants to find and find her cell phone. That's why she talked to her sister. Let's see now what was lost, and of course, how did it get lost? Let's see together, guys. Of course, the lost thing here or item is Marilla's cell phone. And of course, it's Marilla dropped it on the beach. So they were on a trip, as I told you. And of course, Marilla dropped the phone on the beach. And of course, she was playing or doing something else. Of course, how was it found? A woman found it. So a woman found the cell phone and recognized a bridesmaid in the photos and returned it to Marilla's sister friend. So one of Marilla's sister friend took the phone from another woman, and of course they give it to Marilla's sister. So now the phone or the cell phone is at Marilla's. For here, how will the person avoid losing it again? So in this part, guys, we'll discuss how you can protect your mobile phone or your cell phone of being lost. Of course, you have to put it, for example, in a safe way. And of course, it's very important to not, if you go out, for example, you have to be careful, okay, of your cell phone or your mobile phone. So how will the person avoid losing it again? She will tie it to her pants with a string. So this is actually Marilla's idea, that she will tie it to her pants with a string, or someone else can make it here, okay, to actually protect the mobile phone of being lost. So this is actually the part that we are going to discuss. Of course, here we'll revise some of the information that we have discussed. Of course, we have David and Marilla's. Okay, David lost his parrot and Marilla lost his cell phone. Let's go over this part, which is actually David. Of course, he lost his parrot Max, and of course, Max opened the wire enclosure and got out of the yard. And of course, here Max came home when he heard the cell phone ringing. And of course, this part, which is David, had a computer chip put inside Max for identification. About Marilla's, which is discussed recently, of course, Marilla's cell phone is the lost item. And of course, Marilla dropped it on the beach, and here we have a woman found it, recognized a bridesmaid in the photos, and returned it to Marilla's sister friend. And of course, in this part, she will tie it to her pants with a string. That's all for today, guys. Thank you very much. See you soon.